Broads.
Broads.
Welcome back to another High School Musical edition of The Bachelor. Listen to your heart. There was a lot of singing this episode. Lots of singing.
I'm not gonna lie, like this episode, I was kind of like, all right, I could have saved my breath going on and on about how wonderful this series is.
Okay, here's the thing though. I still really did enjoy it. It was just like, I still had a good time. I liked some of the drama that was going down for sure, but it definitely had more cringe moments in it than the first episode.
You know, it was a lot more like how I thought it would be based on the previews today, or last night. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Agreed.
I was like, this is a lot more of what I expected.
Yeah, this makes sense now. This makes sense. We had Papa Chris Harrison not showing up during the day in suits anymore. He was just like in a casual bomber jacket just to really like ease into like the cool musician vibes.
Okay. Grayston was like, is the majority of the budget of this show going to Chris Harrison? And I need to know, is that the truth? Because it sure as hell seems like it.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, we're gonna get into it, but
you mean talking about the dates? Is that what we're gonna talk about?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
they're not traveling at all, right? This season?
I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, you know what though? They'll probably go to Nashville. I bet that they'll go to Nashville.
That's what I was thinking too.
They'll probably do like the final performances in Nashville. They'll have like their final like Music City dates, you know, whatever. But I would imagine
like Las Vegas or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a couple like music hot spots. But other than that, I think that they're probably just staying there.
Oh my God. Okay, before we get into recapping this episode, first thing is Thursday. This is like our first week in forever. It feels like that we're doing not 2 episodes of reality TV coverage.
I know. I'm like, what is this new world? I'm emerging from the darkness.
Yeah. So this Thursday we have a interview we recorded. God, what was the feel? I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks ago now. It was right before we went into the stay-at-home order.
Yeah, it was the official. I think we literally the next day got the stay-at-home order. So it was our last episode we recorded.
Yeah. So that'll be nice. You'll get to see us all. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see us all interact in person, and that will be nice. And
yeah, and it's with a fantastic human being named Ruthie Lindsay, and she has an incredible story, and she was just a ray of sunshine. Oh my God. So I feel like it's definitely an episode that's gonna be something that'll speak to a lot of people, especially with everything that's going on. And she's just really encouraging and wonderful. And I'm looking forward to it.
It was great.
Looking forward to listening to it over.
So before we started recording, you said you had some Bachelor stuff to cover, and I do too. So
okay, you first, and then I'll go.
Okay, tell me if it's one of these 2 things. First thing is that Chris Soules and Victoria F are together.
And
apparently.
That's it.
Wait, but before that, no, actually, let's talk about that right now. Yeah, that was fucking, but it also kind of makes sense.
It totally does make sense because we know that Victoria F goes for country music stars, right?
Yes.
And Chris Soules is the farmer, the hot farmer. So it totally makes sense. And I could actually fully see them together.
Yeah. And I went on his Instagram and it looks like he just bought a house. And apparently how people pieced together this is that they saw the same like couch and pillows in the background of some screenshot of a Skype thing or something. So, you know, people are crazy sleuths. And then he had posted a thing on his couch with his pillow.
People are sleuths for real. I would never notice anything of the sort. So major props to all those people out there who are figuring out all that tea.
Again, Bachelor people?
Unbelievable.
Stop taking planes to go to other states to quarantine with someone else. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
self-isolation and the safer at home orders, my friends, are not to, stay at home mostly when you feel like it until
or go to some other place and then stay there. Like, during this quarantine time, that's literally the same as me being like, during this quarantine time, I think I'm actually going to go quarantine in Hawaii now. So I'm going to go leave my home, fly there, and then stay there for a few weeks. And then you know what? Maybe I'll fly home after that to finish out quarantine back at home.
Not a bad deal. If that's how it's going to look, it doesn't sound too terrible.
But can you imagine how roasted I would get if I was like, you know what? Gray and I decided we're going to rent a vacation home and we're going to go fly to Hawaii to go quarantine there. That's literally what these Bachelor people are doing.
Oh, you would get absolutely demolished. Just completely demolished. Demolished.
I can't. But yeah, anyway, the two of them make sense.
Totally. Well,
both of them have DUI photos on the internet,
yes,
they've got so much in common.
I just feel like it just, everyone's like, this is so out of left field. And I'm like, yes, it definitely is random, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
What do you think happened? Do you think like she slid into his DMs or something? Like, I really want to know the story behind this.
I bet they have a mutual friend because of like who she's involved with. I bet that they had like mutual friends, and then maybe like
that would make sense.
And maybe when she was getting so much shit because of Bachelor stuff, maybe he slid into her DMs and was like, "Don't worry, it'll pass." Blah blah blah, and then she was like, "Chris."
I mean, they're both hot and problematic, so it's perfect.
Very true. It's very true.
I hate the word problematic, but they both definitely have some drama that's gotten stirred up in the media, that's for sure. So maybe they're connecting on that front.
Well, there's that. My other piece involved Jenna Cooper.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to bring up too. So this shit is crazy. Basically, I just saw this last night, actually. So basically, I don't know if you guys watched this season, but Bachelor in Paradise a couple seasons ago, Jenna Cooper, who was from my season, and Jordan Kimball got engaged on Paradise. And then very shortly after they got engaged, these texts emerged that made it look like she was texting this other guy. And I don't know, it seemed like a sugar daddy situation. I don't know. It was like this whole thing. And they split up and she got a ton of shit. I personally gave her a ton of shit. She had this thing done where like she was like, my lawyers did this thing to my phone and it showed that these texts never came from my phone. It wasn't very convincing. But apparently now she has worked with Reality Steve, if I'm understanding correctly, and they proved that it was like two women who were for some reason targeting her and trying to make her look bad, and they fully succeeded. But yeah, Reality Steve like basically rescinded everything he ever said.
I can't believe it, B. I was like one of those ones going hard in the paint against what Jenna was saying.
Oh, me too.
I was like, nope, this is all bullshit. I remember when we were watching her on the show, it just felt very like, this feels like someone who's making this up on the spot. It just felt, and maybe she was just so shell shocked. She didn't even know really how to respond. But, and who knows legally whatever all the ramifications of that were and what she couldn't say. But I mean, can you imagine being in that position where it's like for years you were like,
I can't, and I feel horrible. So sad. I never had anything personally against her, but it was like I maybe put too much trust in Reality Steve. Because he's pretty much like usually right about everything, and then now it makes me take everything with a grain of salt too, even about people like Victoria F. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah,
and it's also really scary. Like, imagine someone going after you to that degree, and like just everyone was fucking slamming her.
It's unreal.
Including myself, who went super hard.
I will say probably because Reality Steve is like right, like 99.9% of the time. But I feel like with this situation, probably with someone like Victoria F, where you have so many people stepping forward and being like, versus this one situation with Jenna and that there being a few text messages. that's where then it might get a little weird. But I mean, it wasn't even reality stage. I mean, it was on the actual after the Bachelor in Paradise, whatever they call that, after the final rose, like whatever. Like it was talked. I mean, it was like publicly acknowledged that that's what happened. I mean, I would love to try to get her on the show. I would love to talk to her about like everything.
I feel awful. I know. I was actually meaning to message her because we're actually only 3 weeks apart in our due dates. She's having our first. We got a fertile bunch on my season of the Bachelor. I will tell you that much.
Seriously, my goodness, there are many babies coming forward.
Yes. Anyway, so I've been meaning to message her. I'll probably do that before this episode drops. Just apologizing because I can't. How horrible.
Yeah, that would be
And I'm glad
terrible.
she's finally being vindicated and has a way of like proving it.
Yeah. Crazy.
But what a horrible thing to do to someone too. Can you imagine, like, I get starting rumors when you're like in high school, but can you imagine like slandering someone on a national level like that as something completely untrue?
That's wild. I need to dive in and find out all the details about like what specifically was the purpose behind it and everything.
I know. I want to listen to her interview with Reality Steve.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to do that after we record this.
Crazy.
It's wild. Well, in non-Bachelor news, just a few things. Number one, definitely been tagged numerous times because if you listen to our Love is Blind recaps, Bardia was Mark's friend, was a big conversation point for Bekah and myself. And I've been getting so many screenshots from people because people have been tagging Chatty Broads on Bardia's Instagram page. And then Bardia's responding being like, who are these Chatty Broads and why are they talking about me? And then he commented on ours and was just like, who are you guys and why are you talking? And I was like, typical Bardia, do your research. Google it, Bardia.
Typical Bardia. Stop pretending like you haven't listened to all of our episodes trying to figure out what we're saying about you.
Bardia, come on. You're gonna tag us
shit.
and gonna be like, what is this? All you have to do is click on the link and you see that we do Love is Blind recaps. You're commenting on a post of a Love is Blind meme, Bardia.
For real, being like, why am I being tagged? Oh my God, fuck you.
Bardia. Fucking Bardia.
Oh my God.
Then in Bachelor Listen to Your Heart news, we have two things. First and foremost, our new gorgeous god, Ryan, has officially declared and made it known that, and he said, sorry to kill the fantasy, but he had never seen That Thing You Do until he listened to the recap.
Lies.
It's full of lies. But he watched it.
That's crazy.
He loves it. And he says he thinks it's going to be his new Halloween costume, as he's going to go as Guy or something like that. So beautiful. The Broads have created this for Ryan. Other male to discuss, Trevor. So Bekah, this is going to be news for you. Obviously, we went hard in the paint on Trevor last episode. And as I was just kind of floating around following certain contestants to keep up with the tea, I saw that of all the people on the show, Trevor happens to be good friends with two of my great friends and one of your great friends. So
shut the fuck up. Who's he friends with?
I gotta edit this out. Sorry, Broads. So
Jess just told me who we have mutual friends with. I'm dying.
So the fact of the matter is, we're talking major smack, and it's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen. And the reason, and this is why you can trust us, because I will continue to fly that flag. Bekah will continue to fly the flag of our true opinion about Trevor, even if our friends contact us and tell us that we need to stop. Because we bring the real tea. I'm not gonna lie to you guys about something. Just the same way that if all of a sudden we become we become friends with a Bachelor contestant or someone on, we're gonna always be honest if our opinions change about people. It's just the fact of the matter.
I don't know. There's something about, I like the fantasy of them just being reality TV people, and then when they're real people, I kind of hate it.
Yeah, but
makes me so much. It makes it so much easier to like.
But you can't.
It was like the same thing I said.
You can't let that get in the way though either, because then you can't start to not like someone just because they acknowledged you and gave you the props you deserve.
Not because they acknowledged it. It just more pops the bubble in the fantasy. I felt the same way about Tyler. Remember when I said when I started following him, I was just like, oh, he's just like a hot guy. Like he's just like a normal hot guy, and it's just kind of like. I like to keep them in my reality TV fantasy world.
I followed Ryan in the fantasy continued because I saw that he indeed truly is a fantastic musician overall. So I felt very like validated in our choices.
Okay, so let's get into this episode.
Yes.
First of all, I realized what it is about Sheridan. Sheridan looks like a homeschooler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that for sure. For sure.
Right?
Yeah. It's
totally... And people are going to be like, what the fuck does that mean? I can't explain it except that I've had many homeschooling friends, and he totally is like... He is like a nice guy who is homeschooled, and then like now he's found his like little style. There's something about like the accessories and the hair and the tattoos.
It's intentional. Like it's not organic. It's definitely
but not in a douchey way.
No. And that's what my nervousness with Sheridan, and you're nailing it, because that's what my nervousness with Sheridan was. I was like, oh, is this going to be, because it feels put on. Is he going to be douchey about it? Turns out he's the loveliest chap I've ever come across, and I adore him, and my heart just hurt for him so bad during this episode, and I pray.
But when he... Oh, I was just going to say, when he was 15, he wore probably a fedora and said like, "Milady."
Yes.
Because he was homeschooled.
Sheridan, please let us know. Yes or no, were you? Also, no shade, because guess what? Bekah and I both were homeschooled. So that
takes one
shade.
to know one, baby.
I see you, honey. I see you, Sher Bear. It's so true, though. You're so right. Oh, well, before we dive into all the travesties that were against Sher Bear in this episode, how dare all of you? Let's talk about something else, something that smells delicious. So your girl has been spending a ton of time in loungewear lately, and let's be honest, loungewear is just a fancier term for sweats. At first, I was fully on board. Who wouldn't want to stay in comfy clothes all day? That lasted all of 4 days because comfy started to feel, well, gross. Because I didn't include the fact that sometimes showers are not part of the process. And when I say not part of the process, I mean most of the time showers aren't happening. So yeah, not great. And then I remembered, hey, you know what can make me feel more like myself and put pep in my step? Smelling sexy, Bekah. Smelling sexy with Scentbird has made my day just feel more normal.
Seriously, smelling good can change everything. And on days when I just don't feel great, you know what? Sometimes all it takes is just putting on a few sprays of my favorite scent, and it can totally turn that day around. So with Scentbird, you can discover your signature scent to keep on hand as a pick-me-up whenever you need it. And Scentbird, what it is a monthly luxury perfume and cologne subscription service with more than 600 designer brands to choose from. And if you don't have a signature scent yet and you need help finding it, or you like to try out different scents for different occasions, Scentbird has you covered.
I personally like to have two types of scents on hand. I'm either floral and sweet or woodsy and earthy. There is no in between with me. And to be honest, I refuse to ever make a hardline decision between the two because I like to be mysterious. And some days I wake up wanting to dress like I'm going to maybe the Kentucky Derby. And some days I wake up and I want to dress like I'm living my in real life emo night fantasy. I feel like that way about my scents. Give me variety. Do not make me choose. And that's why I love Scentbird. All of their fragrances come in a 30-day supply in a travel-friendly refillable case, so you can switch things up as often as you want. I love that the case is refillable as well. Even midday, think office job, showing up, looking your business with your fresh scent, and then changing in the bathroom into your boots and leather to perform the greatest karaoke set of your life in a spicy fragrance. You can always mix it up with Scentbird, you know?
you can get 30% off your first month of Scentbird today. So that's only $10 for your first fragrance. You just have to go to scentbird.com/chatty and use our promo code chatty for 30% off your first month. So that means your first perfume or cologne is just $10. Again, that's scentbird.com/chatty to sign up and use our promo code chatty. Sign on and smell amazing. Well, I'm on Sheridan's, what do you think Sheridan smells like?
I bet Sheridan
Cloves.
Yeah. So I would think that he would at first I was like, oh, he'd maybe smell like woodsy, but I feel like he looks that way, but I think he probably actually smells more like Axe.
Ew. Well, this is funny. I'm on his bio. He started a band when he was 16. He enjoys reading about social sciences and diving into holistic remedies. This motherfucker was 100% homeschooled.
Homeschool and holistic remedies. Maybe he smells a little more like patchouli than I thought. Blessings.
See, that's what I'm saying. I feel like.
Yeah.
What's his last name? Anyway, okay, so.
Speaking of it, the episode starts off with Sher Bear picking at the guitar, and here's the thing. I don't hate about this series. I don't mind how they start every morning and you hear someone like beautifully caressing the piano keys or like strumming a guitar. It feels very relaxing to wake up to. It's not just like women screaming in their pajamas with Chris Harrison showing up and someone like, attacking them with like pillows or whatever. It's a little less chaotic.
It's also probably it's a way more fun environment to be in, I would guess, too, because A, you're mixed up with, it's co-ed, and then B, you also all have you can all jam together. So that's really fun.
And I bet there's so many mutual friends amongst the people already, like people who've worked with the same producers and all that stuff. And obviously later in this episode, we find out something about mutual friends. That's for sure.
Wait, he's from San Francisco.
Sheridan?
I'm really which I did not pin him as someone who's from San Francisco. I pinned him as being like from like some small town kind of dude.
Yeah, I mean, same. Sheridan's a little bit of a mystery, huh?
I'm interested. Anyways, I keep getting us off track. So yeah, I like that aspect of it too. And although shit got so corny this episode,
my gosh,
with them talking about their being musicians and being in love.
Oh, Lord. Well, at the top of the episode, basically we find out that Danny and Bekah are really close, which we don't know anything of Danny at all, barely. We know nothing of Bekah, barely. You know what the ironic part is, though, B, is that Danny was the one who came into the show with the most followers, which I'm surprised that they haven't been focusing more on him.
Really? More than Trevor.
Yeah, more than Trevor. He was like, I think via like YouTube and stuff, he got well known for his music online.
Oh,
so he came in with a lot of followers, but they're really not giving him a lot of screen time. And we also hear that Brandon is open to getting to know all the girls, not just Savannah. And boy, is he open to getting to know.
He makes that clear.
All the girls. Or all the girls want to get to know him too. It's a mutual thing. And then Chris and Bree, they're super sweet. They're connecting. They seem like they're like the married couple already. They're off in their own. No,
dude, they're weird. Everyone's talking about how great they are together. They're weird. They have the most friend vibes. He goes, I know I say this all the time, but you're so pretty. And she's like, wow, thanks. Like,
you don't like them together? I think they're super sweet.
There's something off. And I see the connection. I see a friend connection. I don't know. I don't see the chemistry.
Okay.
I swear, I just don't think he's physically attracted to her. I think they have like a person-to-person connection. I think that he like doesn't seem like that stoked to like kiss her and stuff. I don't know. It's just there's something Anyway, but they're nice. They have like a nice dynamic with each other, and they have good energy together, and I think they definitely have a connection. I'm just questioning whether that's a legitimate romantic connection.
Okay.
So, but I think they're both very nice people. And like no shade to either of them.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I don't know. I've been feeling the chemistry, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, they speak the same language, just the language of music.
They speak the language of music, and honestly, I feel like in the future, the best and only way that they're going to be able to communicate is by talking to each other, which, you know, I'm really hoping I don't have to witness again, because God bless both of them. I think they're both adorable. Was one of the hardest.
Don't.
That was one of
stop.
We'll get into it.
Don't bring it up until.
We'll get into it.
That was not okay, is all I'm going to say.
Well, Chris Harrison shows up, and that's when he's in his cute little zippy black bomber jacket, and he's just being real casual. And he announces that we are going to get some newcomers, and I am itching. I love the newcomers. It's my most favorite part of Paradise, so...
Oh, yeah.
It's always my most favorite part. So knowing that we're going to have that on this makes me so happy. I'm so curious if more men are going to come in, or if it was just like a one-time, like, here are new girls for you. But
no, I think it's going to be like Paradise. I think they're going to switch off back and forth with new people coming in here and there.
Yeah.
Plus, in those previews, we see so many people that we don't recognize, both men and women. I think it's going to be virtually nonstop.
I sure hope so.
But
yes,
Jamie gets the date card,
which, like, come on.
Jamie gets the date card. I was also just confused. I know that she picked Trevor. I don't know. I guess I just didn't realize that it was just like that, over and done with her and Ryan, but it definitely was over and done.
Oh, there's
no question about that.
There's nothing. And so the producers are just going to go ahead and give her. And at first I was like, why are you giving Jamie the date card? She just went on a date. This is ridiculous. But then I'm like, oh, of course, because y'all know that Natasha is going to come in and drop some heaters while she's gone. So you got to get her out of the house and have the potential opportunity for that breakup conversation with the two of them.
Okay, so this date, Grayston also said, which is so accurate. He goes, this show isn't a dating show. It's like Fear Factor. He's like, the dates they're making these people go on.
It's so true. They're just so nerve-wracking. It's like, why are you making us do this? This is not fun, nor this is just pressure. This shit's just pressure, like off the cuff.
So their date is at the Venice Beach Boardwalk. Wow.
Fantastic. Now, love Venice Beach Boardwalk. Got to admit, this episode, and I know for the next few episodes, were just giving me major like RIP quarantine vibes. Like, I was like, I want to go to the the boardwalk.
Right? And I hate the Venice Beach Boardwalk.
I don't like it either. And I was like,
hate it.
The good old days when I could go there whenever I wanted to. Literally this whole episode, anytime they'd show anything, I was just like, oh, the Dresden, that's one of my favorite places. Is it open right now? Like, it was killing me.
A different time. Well, Trevor just admits that he's like, oh, I love it here. I always play here. And I'm like, oh, you're a Venice Beach Boardwalk musician.
Yes. And I was like, that's why I recognize you. Of all my strolls. But for real, if you've ever been to the Venice Boardwalk, you know that when you're it's a long boardwalk, and there are tons of people set up, different types of musicians with their guitar case open or whatever, making money that way. There are some incredibly talented people who are there. You'll see artists and whatever, but there's just tons of people, and it's just a hodgepodge. And when he said he used to do this and now they're going back, and Bekah, you better believe that I did not think that they were going to make them perform on the boardwalk. I thought that they were literally just having them have this moment of like, oh, you're going to the Venice Boardwalk. It's pretty. It's a view. I didn't think that they were going to make them set up and play.
They had to find some way, I guess, to pay the limo driver since they're on they're like, gather up those dollars. $84, perfect. We'll be able to even give him a tip.
Did you see how quickly
Hand that over now.
Chris Harrison's just like behind them, like, hand out. Cough it up.
You said you were paying me in installments.
Cough it up, guys.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Before that, what was even more unbelievable is their musician conversation when they're sitting and she's like, I just feel like you do more like covers. She says, I just haven't seen our musical connection. And he's like, babe, I'll do the guitar. Like, I want you to be comfortable with the vocals. And this is supposed to be like a serious moment that we're watching. Like, we're supposed to take it seriously. It
also, like, if you are a musician, and I don't get me wrong, I love cover artists, I love cover bands, but if you're a musician, when one musician tells another musician, I'm not so much of a cover artist, I do originals, that's normally a very shady thing to throw out in musician conversation.
I feel like you do more like covers.
So I was like, oh, damn, Jamie, she's coming out. And she's just like, I think you're hotter, but I think Ryan's more talented. So this is the only thing. Now, I will say, because we gave Ryan credit for it last time, we have to give Trevor credit for at least the fact that he was like, hey, what are you?
Let her sing.
He let her sing. He let her choose a song that she felt more comfortable with. And I also want to make note that in her and Ryan's duet, it was kind of like, what's she doing? And then in this one, the girl was shining. We're hearing Jamie's wheelhouse musically because her voice was quite captivating during this performance.
Well, when they were sitting down, though, playing with each other, and he sings, I want to taste your lips or whatever, and the look and the kiss physically hurt me.
I was like screaming.
There was a lot of moments in this episode that actually like made my chest feel tight watching it.
Yeah. This made me feel like the worst. I almost turned it off in that moment. I was like, no, I'm gonna have to take a.
She was like,
let's take a break.
The look she gave him and how they just then started kissing. I was like, oh my God.
It's like, oh my God, no. And this is the second that lyric came out, I was like, oh, here we go. This is the moment. It was just like.
And then he stopped singing too. He stopped singing and playing and just looks at her after singing those lyrics.
Oh God, no, it was not right. It was not good. I want to taste your lips. Oh, no. God, no. Well, Jamie said something in the interview during this part that I thought was interesting. She said that she often dims her light for other people. And I think that it was very clear in this episode, especially we'll talk about it later when her and Trevor have the conversation about everything. And it makes me sad for her because I feel like she seems like a really lovely, sweet girl. And I wanted to reach through the screen this entire episode and be like, stop dimming your light. You said it yourself. And I wanted to just take her and remove her from the situation because it was just so apparent that I'm watching this going, I don't care how long these two last on this show. Trevor's in it for the game. And I'm going to stick, and I stick to that. There is no way that they stay together. There's just no way.
I don't think she isn't though.
You don't think
Homegirl's always crying, and I'm never seeing like real tears. I'm not fully convinced that she isn't in it for the game either.
I think everyone's in it for the game to a certain extent because I think they signed up thinking it was a music show. Yeah. But I'm saying like, so again, at the end of the day, there can't ultimately be shade because they signed up for a music show. So that's really what they're there for.
Totally.
But I'm saying is that with these two, I think that she's pretty over the moon about him. And I think I'll just say this, as soon as they fully like quote unquote have committed, I saw the light leave his eyes. Yeah. And it was like it seemed like he was having fun trying to win her over from Ryan and when it was a competition. And now all of a sudden, whenever you see him, he just looks low.
Well, look, there's this too. I mean, I'm really not one to put down people for their age, but I mean, we got to remember that she's
21.
Is 21.
Yeah.
She's 21 and he's 29. And like, no, that doesn't mean that it's not going to work. And I'm not saying it like that, but that's going to influence shit. And like in the real world and in LA, like that may not be like someone he would actually be with is like this 21-year-old who's just, I mean, I don't know. It is sometimes I hate when people say this, like her age shows, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, you're 21.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that without it sounding like really condescending, but 21, you're just entering. I mean, I don't know. This is like what everyone critiqued me for when I was 22, but I don't know. Where's she from?
I'm not sure. But I understand what you're saying though. I understand what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that she can't be with. I'm not saying that she can't take it seriously. I don't know. I just think that the age could come into play in their relationship as well.
Well, so while they're about to perform back at the mansion, a car pulls up in a blonde East Coast New Yorker with abs that I could eat off of. Oh my God. Hops out. Did you notice the abs on Natasha?
I noticed she was looking pretty tight and fit in that outfit.
I just was just like,
for sure.
God damn. She starts walking out and it was just like, oh my God. Okay. Everyone just tightened up and everyone got a little nervous.
I think that she first auditioned for Real Housewives before auditioning for this show because she comes out looking the way she looks. And then some of her lines, I'm not a diva, but I'm a diva. And I'm like, oh, this is your Real Housewives audition.
Honestly, I would live for her being on Real Housewives. I think she would make a perfect.
She would fit in great.
She's a perfect addition. She holds her own, okay? When we see her later with Trevor, this woman does not back down, and I was living for it. So yes, she would be a perfect Real Housewives addition.
Wait, so sorry that I keep interrupting about these bios, but did you know that Jamie went to Berkeley? Like Berkeley College of Music?
Yeah. So
that's a really good school.
Well,
see, okay, so
I wanted to say too is I saw actually on her Instagram, and this was our bad. We were like, oh, she probably doesn't. Well, turns out I went on her Instagram and like she was saying, she writes her own original songs and she plays well, and her own original songs are actually really good. And I think that what we saw in this, and she talked about it too with Trevor, is she's a very well-rounded, talented musician. I think she just seems to be very nervous about stepping into maybe the performing, like how she was nervous with Ryan. And then she brought it up later before she was performing with Trevor, that she was like, he was then having to help her kind of out of her shell. And I think that's more of the issue with her, because maybe she's been more in classes and maybe hasn't done as much like live performing, but the girl's very talented. She's very talented.
Well, these people actually are what I made the mistake of saying too is that a lot of these people are qualified. Bekah has an MFA in musical theater, so these people are actually like educated and some of them have legitimate musical education backgrounds. Also, just browsing, Bree was in fact raised in a traditional Mormon home, one of 6 children. She has a gluten allergy and she still practices in the Mormon church to this day. Also, Chris worked for UNICEF and has participated in missions trips around the world. So that pairing definitely makes sense.
Oh, okay. So they have the religious connection. Okay.
Yes, that we haven't really seen so far. But anyway, so that's kind of interesting. I'm kind of interested to see these people's backgrounds. And yeah. Anyway, so then we come back to the date. And this is where the date becomes literally the worst date ever. And quite possibly eons worse than having a private performance. They are required to sing with an open guitar case for money on the Venice Beach boardwalk.
They are literally...
And Trevor's like, let's go.
They are setting up a little monitor. They are plugging in. It is... I was so awkward watching this, Bekah. And I have to say, the reason I was so awkward watching it is because I've done this before, okay? And every time I had done something like this, I had never felt more uncomfortable in my life. You better believe, I've never set up on the boardwalk, but you better believe that throughout my life, there have been moments where, we're having to, I would never have like the guitar case open, but doing very small sidewalk style performances. And you have like the little PA, you have the little monitor. The sound quality is horrible. Everyone's uncomfortable. You can't hear yourself. It's a nightmare, okay? It's a nightmare.
I respect the hustle, but it is a goddamn nightmare. Now, I think the one thing that's not as cringe, there's something about people singing. It doesn't even matter how good they are. There's something about people singing on the sidewalk that, it's one thing when I love seeing the guys who are like playing drums on the buckets, or people who are like playing the saxophone, and just it's like some ambiance as you're like, strolling down the promenade or whatever. But when you have something about having people singing is just another thing.
I think maybe when you're playing an instrument, people can look down while they're playing, but when you're singing, your eyes are gazing through the crowd, and it's the same energy as when there's a guy on the side of like the boardwalk who's talking or like preaching. You feel like you have to engage more, and then I know I feel pressure where I'm like, I feel like I have to stop and look in your eyes, and like the human connection is too much.
And usually there's like two devoted people standing and watching, and I just watching that, but they're standing from an awkward distance away, like 15 to 20 feet.
Yes.
And then like watching the lady go in and throw the dollar at them, I was just like,
oh no. When that woman came in and threw the dollar, I was just like, oh God, here we go. And there was one hot redhead in the front that was vibing. They kept focusing in on her. And I was like, either Trevor or Jamie, look out, because she's got her eyes on one of you. And I sure hope it's Jamie, because Jamie deserves better. Okay. And that hot redhead was a dime. Where is she? Where is ABC casting?
So I am interested to see what you think about. Now I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit confused about how I feel about Trevor. Not like, I don't know.
Really?
I'm not saying that he's not like probably a shitty person, but I'm maybe not thinking it's as clearly black and white about him as I thought.
Okay. No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I have, we'll get into it. Let's get into it because I have opinions.
Okay, so back at the ranch, we find out that I'm calling Natasha Tasha for short. Tasha's Chilean and French, and she drops, as if she's not there because she knows Trevor through a friend. She's like, oh, Trevor, like Trevor from American Idol. Oh, that Trevor. Interesting. I'm friends with his ex.
Okay, so this is what I heard and think happened. So a bunch of people, right, are auditioning for a music show, and his ex finds out via, whatever, that he has auditioned for a music show, and so Natasha has as well. So when she hears the name Trevor, she didn't know for sure that Trevor was actually going to be on, but she knew all these people were auditioning. You know how small this industry circle is, right? Especially if it's local. So people then know, oh, this person auditioned for this and they got it and whatever. So when she said Trevor and she goes, oh, American Idol Trevor, it was kind of like, oh, okay, I thought he might be on this.
Oh, hell no. The producers wouldn't have cast them both, and they wouldn't have put him on the date, and they wouldn't have brought her in at that time if they hadn't already made the connection that for sure this is the ex of her friend.
True. Very true.
Like, that's 100% why she's there at that moment. Those happy accidents only happen once in a lifetime, like with Victoria F. and
very
what's
true,
his face.
very true.
But did anyone else notice that she has like a half fake accent, like Dorit? Did you catch that at all?
Like
there were times where she would.
I kept thinking I was hearing that. And
like a British accent or something.
I couldn't. I'm like, was it French? Because she said she's Chilean and French. Like, I'm not sure. Yes. it was definitely Dorit, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills energy. She also kind of had that Dorit energy too.
Yes.
They were very, very 100%. Similar.
100%.
Yes, yes.
I love her.
Oh, I love
her. She's such a catty drama bitch. I love it.
I'm obsessed. Well, she, as soon as she finds out that Trevor is there, quote unquote, finds out that Trevor is there, she is working up all the women. This Natasha knows she's got to go in and she's got to get these women, in the full circle around Trevor, basically like chanting him out.
Oh, yes.
And then that's when Rudy says that she, and this is where I would agree. Rudy says that what would make her mad in the situation is if Trevor would be given the opportunity to have the breakup conversation and tell her what happened and doesn't own up to it. And so, and that's the biggest thing for me about this whole thing, that I would feel like strongly about. My thing is, do I think, that people can cheat, whether it be emotionally or physically, and that they can change and grow from it? Yes. Welcome to my life. I come from a long line of cheaters. I believe that people can change and people can make mistakes and whatever. Okay. So
trust me, it's same here.
Trust and believe. Okay. So I'm not judgmental in that way, but it's that energy of like that Trevor conversation later where there was a avoidance of acknowledging the wrong and more kind of putting this like...
And watering it down and like justifying it. I mean, he starts out his conversation with Jamie later on. Like he starts it out saying, framing it, remember when I said I stayed too long in a relationship for fear of hurting her? And I'm like, oh, that's how you're starting this out? Is that like the reason that you emotionally cheated on this person is because you were afraid of hurting her by leaving the relationship? Nah, you're a pussy.
Yes.
Like, fuck you.
And that's my thing, is that like it's not an issue of the fact that he's cheated, because again, they're talking this relationship was a year and a half ago. So much can change in someone's life, and relationship to relationship is different. But when the
mistakes happen.
Yeah. But when you're downplaying it and saying like, it was, we both made mistakes and I should have stepped away because I was unhappy, instead of just being like, yeah, I lied to her and it was really shitty of me and I feel really bad about it.
Right.
Like I would have been, that's fine. Like we're having an open and honest conversation. But even when you go back to then Jamie and Trevor having their conversation in the hot tub.
In the hot tub.
That would have been, that was the moment that he could have said that to her, especially when...
Didn't he bring up his ex?
Well,
first?
He said, when was your last relationship? And she mentioned when it was, and that's when then she said, every guy I've ever dated has cheated on me. And then he said, my last ended about a year ago. I have nothing bad to say about her, but we just weren't compatible. No one's perfect. She's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes sometimes because I feel like I stayed in the relationship longer than I should have, and I was afraid of hurting her. And again, that talk I have a problem with when you're sitting and having a conversation with someone. And again, I don't know what it's like to have cameras in my face and to tell this person that I've known for 24 hours, like, I emotionally cheated on someone a year and a half ago. Like, that would be tough. But to have the conversation framed in a way that it's like, well, I was afraid of hurting her, so I made mistakes. It's like, no. You've made a big mistake and you got to own up to that shit. And if you don't want to talk to her about it right now, don't frame it that way to make yourself seem like this sensitive, sweet guy who just didn't want to hurt her feelings.
Absolutely. So when they get back from their date, they've barely set foot outside of the fucking car. And to me, it seemed like he was so obviously pretending like he didn't know who she was.
Oh, he 100% knew who she was. Like, that was a fact.
That was like the worst acting. Like, good thing he's pursuing a music career, because his acting skills are like, no. It was so obvious he recognized her because he like acknowledged her in this weird way, like outside of her just being a new person in the house. And he goes,
yep.
how do we know each other? Again, worst acting ever. And
Natasha, a queen.
She goes, well, let's talk about it. And he's like, well, why don't you let me get settled in? This is where you know that he knows who she is, because he's just like, oh, can you wait a minute for me to like get settled in? And she's like, no, I want to talk now.
I was chanting. I was like, this girl. Yes. And you're so right. Because in a normal setting, you walk in and someone you think kind of recognizes, like that you are like, oh, if you genuinely did kind of recognize someone. If you actually
didn't know, right.
Yeah. If you had no idea who this person was and you weren't a sus character, by the way, or you know what? Here's the other thing. And this is what I wrote down. My vibe was that he was like, oh shit, is this one of the girls who I've been DMing and I don't remember her?
For real, that's the realest shit. I didn't even think about that. And you know what? If you genuinely didn't recognize someone and they said, well, let's talk about it right now, you'd be like, oh, yeah, yes,
please,
for sure.
Should I be concerned? Is my family okay? Are you here to bring a message regarding my family? You know what I mean? Like that would be, yes, that would be the regular, that would be a typical reaction. So he clearly knows that he's a sus character. He's a sus figure.
Well, when they sit down, the way he looked and the way he swallowed when she says, you know, I was friends with your ex. And he's like, oh, again, the fakest shit ever. Which one? And she's like, Sierra. And he's like, oh, okay. Pretending like he doesn't know what the fuck she's going to say. He's just like, and
he goes, oh, Sierra, nice. He's dripping sweat, by the way. He was sweating like crazy.
And when she goes, yeah, we are friends. And she told me, and he like had this look on his face. Like he was like, oh, he fully knew what was about to go down.
Completely.
And she says, you know, who you dated a year ago. And he corrects her and goes, a year and a half ago.
But it doesn't matter.
An extra 6 months. Come on, bro. You're 29. We're not 5. It's not like, actually, I'm 5.5 years old. No, it doesn't fucking, the extra 6 months does not matter.
Because that's not the point of this. Even though I will say, if she was coming at him for going on a show like this and it's like, oh, too soon, that would be ridiculous to me, because it's like, hey, it's been a year, whether it be a year and a half, that's enough time between a breakup to, I feel like, go on a reality show. Like, whatever.
Absolutely.
You're fine.
Absolutely. Right.
But the time is not the issue, really. The issue is what he did. And when he says, I just want to remind you, though, all you know is her side. I never physically cheated on her. I was with her for 2.5 years. I was unhappy. I should have left sooner. I ended up emotionally cheating on her. And then Natasha goes, which I almost feel is worse. And I want to know, what's worse to you? Would you be more upset about someone?
100% it's worse.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
how I feel too.
I say this every day of my goddamn life. And I tell Grayston, if you were to randomly hook up with some chick at a club, I would be so much more livid if I found out that you were like staying up late talking on the phone to a girl for 3 hours. Because one, I mean, there's serious issues with both. One is like definitely a character flaw and a lapse of judgment and a really bad choice and extremely inconsiderate and all these other things. But the level of deceit to carry on to begin and carry out an emotional relationship with someone, texting them throughout the day, maybe talking about how you're going to spend time together in the future, that is, I mean, Grant, we never find out what actually happened. We just keep throwing out this emotional cheating thing. So what actually was going on?
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you this, okay? I don't know specifically. Maybe there was a specific one where it was more emotional and there was longer conversations and longer intimacy that was happening.
Okay.
But what I do know is that he later talks to Jamie and goes that he was talking to someone. And I know that someone is a lot of someone's.
How do you know this? Through friends?
Yes. We'll say that.
Okay, so he's just talking to girls.
We're talking a large number of women that are having DM slides, that are having conversations that are not appropriate.
I'm guessing this probably happened post American Idol. He's probably getting a lot of internet attention and was probably feeding into all that from women in different
I'm going to imagine that too. Now, there may also on top of that be a few of them who there was like long emotional connections with. I'm not sure. But I do know that I know this, but this has also been confirmed that Reality Steve said that he has received many, 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 many messages from women before the season started all about Trevor, and that Reality Steve says him not being a good guy, quote unquote.
I can totally see him being just that person who is on maybe dating apps and stuff. He's chatting up people. He's never actually meeting up, but that doesn't make it any fucking better. Also, like, so she says it's almost worse, I feel. And I kind of agree. Meanwhile, the girls are telling Jamie about all the shit that Natasha dropped. And
Rudy is stroking her hair. She is looking so devastated. But what the girls
She's sobbing though, like she lost a child. She's like rocking and like tearing her clothes, like putting ashes on her head. She is like, no.
Well, see, this is the issue that I had in this episode with a few of these people, aka Jamie and specifically Mel, where I'm like, hey guys, how long have you known these people? And the level,
this has been 2 days.
The level of grief that's happening is out of control. Like, this is just next level. Like, I understand this when you've been trapped in a house alone, not like, just say you're in the Bachelor situation where you're without phones, you're trapped with a bunch of, women. There's the one guy, you're starting to get your head messed with. You've only seen him a couple times. You're starting to panic. But in this situation, it's like everyone's all together. You're having like friendships. You're able to play music together. Like, it's not nearly as strenuous a situation. Let's be real.
Well, Natasha asks him point blank, are you going to tell Jamie the truth? And he goes, yeah, that was my intent this whole time. And at first I was like, oh, that was your intent this whole time, was to tell her about this. But then actually I realized he was probably saying like, my intent was to be honest with her this whole time. I don't think he was saying my intent was to tell her specifically about the ex.
But you think that he was, oh, no. She said, are you going to tell, but she said, are you going to tell Jamie the truth? And he said, yeah, that's been my intent.
But maybe he was saying his intent has been always to be truthful with her, not necessarily that he was going to tell her about the ex. Because if that's what he's saying, I'm going to give him a benefit of the doubt because it could go that way. But if that's what he's saying, that his intent was to tell her about the ex, that's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard.
I am not going to give him the benefit of the doubt in this one because I think they moments beforehand were having the conversation about Natasha being like, so you're denying this? And he was just like, she's like, so did it happen? He's like, yes, it did. And she's like, was there emotional cheating? He's like, yes. She's like, was there lying? He's like, yes. She's like, okay, are you going to tell Jamie the truth?
Yeah.
And I think that's what she was referring to. And I think he knew. And I think it's a load of BS.
So
and I think in this specific situation, what has now happened to Trevor, and maybe I'm a salty bitch and I just have this vision of him, but I think this is what's going to happen. This is my arc of I think what it's going to look like. I think Trevor's smart. He's been on reality TV before. He knows the deal. And I think he knows that he's about to have now an episode all about his cheating, and this shit's going to come forward. So now, for him to be to remain a good guy, he will have to stay with Jamie this entire time.
Oh, I know. I said that later on in my notes. I was like, well, he really screwed himself over with that one. Right. He literally cannot pursue any other relationship. Otherwise, he's going to look like a total douchebag.
Right. So now he's
more so than he already does.
So now he's stuck. And I think he will. I think he's going to stay in that situation. I think he's going to remain that way. And I think that he'll, for however long they're in, I think he will stay with her because you can't now, you have to, or else. And what I think too, I think America in 1 week will forget the travesties, and I think they will be team Trevor and Jamie. And I think it'll, how fleeting people's memories are.
You mean the 300 people in America that are watching the show?
Facts. Facts. Oh my God, I'm dead.
I'm getting like 150 likes on my tweets about listen to your heart on Twitter. I'm like, okay, so no one's watching this show.
You're like, so this is not. Oh my God, I'm dead. Okay, so that's what I think. I mean, I could be dead wrong, but I don't know. From the info,
we'll see how it plays out with him. But I agree. I think the heat's gonna be off of him fairly quickly.
I think so. But I do, from the info that I've seen, I'll just say that I wouldn't want my best friend to be starting a relationship with him. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, I wouldn't either. He's sus. He's too hot. He's like too pretty.
Yeah. Well,
and he knows it.
So before
Bree gets a date card,
before we get into the date card with Bree and that date, let's pause for a moment. Broads, if you've ever met Bekah in real life, I'm going to tell you something. 15 minutes in, you'd figure out that she is a health information goddess. Okay, she loves.
Damn it! I thought you were going to say how pretty I was. She looks even better than she does on Instagram.
She's a 10 out of 10 on Instagram, in person 12 out of 10, okay? But on top of that, she is a health wellness information goddess. She loves learning about the newest technologies and reading articles about current wellness movements. When we talk, I always feel like you have something new that you've read about and you can teach me or the audience. And it's really helped me dive into things personally. And when it comes to health information and learning more about your own being, one of my personal faves is EverlyWell, the at-home wellness test company that helps you better understand your health.
So if there's ever been something you want to know about your body or your health, EverlyWell probably has a test for it on their site. They offer more than 35 different at-home lab tests, from hormone levels to thyroid to heart health, and the results you get are personalized and so easy to understand, so you know exactly what they mean for your body. And then you can share the results too with your own healthcare provider, so you can chat about them with your doctor.
Well, if you're thinking, what the heck, you guys, I'm not a doctor, how can I possibly test myself for those things? Don't worry. That was exactly what I thought before I got my kit too. Each EverlyWell test comes with super easy to follow instructions. I took one of the tests that I took, the initial one, I was so nervous because I get scared about these type of things, but it's just the quickest little finger prick. It's so easy. And then they walk you through all of this so clearly. Then you just mail back your collection with prepaid, included shipping label. Your test is analyzed by a lab and then reviewed by an independent board certified physician. And the results are up on the platform for you to view before you know it. They get it so quickly. So I've taken the thyroid test, the STD test, and the indoor-outdoor allergy test, which confirmed that your girl cannot get a cat and that, yes, indeed, certain grasses are not my friend. Okay.
That's cool. They do STD tests too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I took one. It was great. It's super thorough, and they have different forms of the STD testing as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, for 20% off an EverlyWell at-home lab test, you can visit everlywell.com/chatty and enter code chatty. That's everlywell.com/chatty, spelled EverlyWell.com. Use code chatty for 20% off your test. EverlyWell at-home lab test. Your answers your way, baby. So Bree gets a date card.
Bree gets
obviously
a date
she's
card.
Taking Chris.
Of course. Now, Broads, here's the deal. So they are driving by iconic LA music hotspots like the Roxy. I know that they drove past Whiskey A Go-Go to get to this place. These are iconic spots, but they pull up to Guitar Center.
I'm like, stop trying to make this sound cool when they're like Guitar Center on Sunset. And I'm like, whoa, Best Buy on Rodeo Drive? No way.
That's the shit. Broads, if you are a musician, let me make this comparison. This is the parallel. Imagine this, Pilot Pete season. Pete has a date with Kelsey. They pull up to a Target. Okay? It's a Target and they walk in, and granted, Target is great and wonderful, but they have a date inside of Target where they have a romantic dinner set up. You'd be watching this and you'd be like, what the fuck? They're having a romantic date in Target? Guitar Center is the Best Buy or the Target or whatever for the musician, okay? There is nothing romantic about it.
Yeah, it's fun to go to, but like you said, so is Target. Like, yeah, I used to take, I mean, I just remember after I pick up my nanny kid from school, we would go to Guitar Center and like wander around, because like, yeah, it's fun, but it's just a fucking store. Just like in high school, how I would get high and walk around Target with my friends all the time, because like it's a way to pass some
That's
time.
The thing. Do I love
it?
Yeah. Do I love going to Home Depot and strolling around? 100%. I pass the time.
Home Goods.
Yeah, I love those places. I love Target. But if I'm going on a show on a national TV network and they take me into Home Depot and that's my room, and by the way, my activities, not just in there, my romantic like cocktail portion is also in there, I'm suing.
It's so low budge. It's more low budge almost than the Venice Pier, which is free.
It's way more low budge.
And the Venice Boardwalk, I mean,
I couldn't believe it. I was screaming. I was like, well, clearly Guitar Center sponsored this episode, because there's no way. I mean, come on. There's 1,000 other places in Los Angeles they could have gone before. This is my thing. If they went to a mom and pop music shop, that's romantic. You go into like on the east side of LA, a little like dark music shop that's been run for a long time, that's small, that has cool old instruments in it that they can play, and it's dimly lit. That is romantic. But Guitar Center?
Like Guitar Center is literally a chain. Like we're saying, like Best Buy. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. I really can't. Meanwhile, back at the house, they're like talking about their relationship like very in depth, which was also just like weird to me for some reason. Like it cuts back to everyone in the house just being like, oh yeah, Chris and Bree so strong in their connection. I don't know why. I was like, okay, we get it.
No, it was very weird, and it made me think either one, they're gonna end. I thought that they were gonna randomly end on this date,
right?
Or two, they're gonna go far, which now makes me think that they're gonna go far because they're really pushing their relationship hard right
exactly
now.
They may be selling this as like it works.
Yes. Or I thought, like I said, they were gonna break up. Okay, Bekah.
Okay, first of all, Bree goes, I haven't been able to connect with boyfriends in the past because I connect with song.
Oh God. And
then I guess her idea of song is Grayson and I were screaming at the top of our lungs. They start singing out. I'll never forget that rose. When you gave me that rose, I'll never forget it. We walked in and they're just singing back and forth. I felt like I was watching some sort of sketch comedy show where they had to make up the lines on the spot. And like sometimes it wasn't even working, like, because they would be like, and you walked in and I knew right then you were the one. Like they're like,
it wasn't working. And then she was just like, oh, Chris. It was the worst. You're right. It was an SNL sketch by like two newbies that was going terribly wrong. And you're like, no, it needs to stop.
Exactly. And when that was happening, I was like, oh, this is the moment in the episode where I go, oh, this is exactly what I thought the show would be like based on the previews. This is exactly what I thought.
Absolutely. No,
I was traumatized from it, Jess.
No, me too. And that was the thing. And I know that you're not feeling their vibe, but like I feel their vibe and I really like them a lot. And I think they're both on their own super cute. And I think they're super cute together. But this moment was hard for me to get over. It was a little hard for me to process moving forward.
It was horrible.
It was hard for me to process.
It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. I was so embarrassed for them that was on TV.
I know.
Immortalized.
I would have been the most uncomfortable ever rewatching myself in this whole situation.
I mean, there also just felt like no self-awareness. Like at no point where they like laugh, you know, and just be like, haha. No, they were like being really serious.
No, it was the whole thing was very serious. It was very serious. Oh God. Well,
which is what really disturbed me. And I'm actually traumatized from that.
Well, after that traumatizing moment, they then had their emotional, like romantic moment in the corner where they tried to make Guitar Center romantic. And I'm like, a place with 80s carpeting like that cannot stir romance. That's just a fact. Okay. But they, she talks about how she was engaged a year ago. And this is actually horrible. When she told the story about she like found her wedding dress and she got super emotional, called her fiance and he told her, don't buy it. That's awful.
Speaking of traumatizing, I know.
That's horrible. And but that's the one I thought when she was saying that she thinks that like she's talking about how people can be so cruel. And I'm like, okay, I get why she does like Chris so much because Chris is so sweet and so gentle. So that's probably a really safe place for her, you know?
Now, she came on a little strong after that, though.
She went in hard.
And Jess, I just want to point out that she said, I might be falling in love with you. And he said, I think I might be falling for you, too.
Yep. I made note of that.
I was just like, oh, those are two very different levels in the Bachelor world. Everyone knows that.
We all know how that tier goes, guys. Okay, and that was not the equivalent. That they're on different planes right now. I don't know. It's definitely a good point. It's a good point. That's for sure. Yikes.
Well, but after that, they sit down and just play the most cliche song they could possibly play in that moment. Jess, was it just me or did it look like she didn't know the words to I Can't Help Falling in Love with You?
I don't think she knew the words. I don't think so. Because I was like, are you... I caught that. I was just like, he's singing it and you're like trying, like you're like mouthing it like you're trying to.
Yes!
I was like, girl, you don't know that song. That's a pretty popular song.
And you better believe after the shit that went down earlier, if she knew the words, she would be belting out right alongside him. Instead, she's doing this thing where, again, like an SNL sketch, she's mouthing the word silently after he says it. He's like, and she's like...
It's that Fred Armisen, Kristen Wiig sketch. You know what I'm talking about?
Like, I can't believe... Yeah, pretending like you know what they're going to say next.
Oh my God.
Dude, that shit was crazy. I was like, wait, does she actually not know the words?
Oh no, that was wild.
My God, it killed me. Whew. Whew. I loved that.
Well, their date, I was like, all right, you guys are cute, but I'm ready for this date to be over.
Please, for the love of God, someone make it
for
stop.
the love of God. Well, back at the mansion, everyone is, all aflutter about the Jamie Trevor situation. And basically, Trevor and Jamie sit down and he could not have an easier sell with Jamie. Nothing. It was literally like, could it have gone smoother for him? I don't think so.
And yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, he basically, all he had to say was, I don't feel anything for anyone else.
Yes.
Again, we already brought up how he started out framing it.
She literally is like doubled over and is just like, she says to him immediately that that cheating is a deal breaker for her. And then within half of a second, she's like leaning against him going like, oh no. And then they're like intimate again. And you're like, well, I guess it's not really a deal breaker for you because you guys are together.
Ugh. Well, what really bothered me is that the way the conversation wrapped was basically him saying, I don't want this to end over what happened a year and a half ago. And she's like, yeah, me neither. And I was just like, dude, again, like he's 29. A year and a half ago isn't that long ago.
No.
Like I kind of do get, relatively speaking, like if you're 21, if we're just even talking about fractions of a person's life, like if you're 21, a year and a half ago is when you're 19, like you could very be in a different headspace. But it's like a year and a half ago when you're 29, you could potentially be 28, maybe 27.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It's not that long ago. Like if I think back to where I was a year and a half ago, it's really not that long ago. And like the person you are and like your the character choice, you're going to make it like 27 versus 29, like usually isn't that crazy different.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So that bothered me.
That bothers me.
Like don't act like that's a long time.
No, and I also, the other thing that I will say bummed me out too is at the very end of the episode when we're having the final roses given away, is that Trevor then right away says, I hope Natasha leaves, which I understand him saying that because he doesn't want to get screwed.
Sure.
But then when Ryan had the choice, you saw Jamie mouthing, not Natasha, not Natasha, not Natasha. Because she didn't want Natasha around either. And I'm going
now
like...
she's in his corner.
Yeah,
like,
she's like protecting her man, even though, listen, you know nothing about him. It's the same way how before they talked to... Before, when all the girls were talking with Jamie earlier, Bekah made the comment of like, here's the thing, like, this is what Natasha told us, but like, we feel like what we've known Trevor for what's been like forever. And we just met her a few minutes ago. And I was like,
what the fuck was that?
I was like, you guys have known Trevor for maybe 3 days and you've known her for like 30 minutes. So I understand that you've known one of them longer, but you barely know Trevor. So you barely know either of them.
Yes.
So I understand not immediately accusing someone just because one person says something is true.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
this whole now kind of like anti-Natasha thing is just like, whoa, like let's not go there because she was trying to, you know.
Granted, I did sort at first I was like, what? When Bekah said that, but I was also like, all right, Natasha did come in like reality TV queen. Like, have I got tea to drop? So I do get how that you could kind of be like, what's going on here? Why is...
Yeah, I appreciate the thought of like what, and I think the point of what they were saying was more like, Jamie, don't like spiral because we don't know her. But it's also like, yeah, but let's remember you guys don't know Trevor either.
You don't know him.
No.
Yep, 100%.
It goes both ways.
Well, what happens next? Sheridan gets the date card.
Yes. Yes. And we don't know, you know, what's going to go down because we're getting these little moments, which, by the way, remember when last week Brandon and Savannah walked away and I said Julia did that weird face and I wonder if she still likes Brandon? Because I'm telling you, last week when Brandon and Savannah were together and walked away, Julia did this like kind of glary face because she's in love with Brandon. Sheridan gets the date card.
And she's just not that into him, unfortunately, so it seems.
No, and I was devastated, really, this whole well, okay, no, I shouldn't say that. This date, before we continued to see...
I was devastated.
Before we continued to see it, I actually thought the date was really like... I thought that they had some really sweet moments and I thought we were going to be A-okay until Julia gets home later. Because there's this moment of her talking about her cystic fibrosis, which is like really intense, actually. And I'm like, oh my God, like... you know, this is someone who's experienced a lot of hardships. Sheridan is over the moon for her. They show up at iHeartMedia, and I was like, hey, we were just there the other day. And
we were.
A lot of your favorite Bachelor podcasts are out of that very studio they pushed their way through.
Which again, it was like, oh my God, we're at the iHeart station. And I'm like,
and I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess. But talk about pressure. They get forced immediately into Valentine in the morning.
Could not believe.
And they're drilling them about like they're kissing. And then all of a sudden it's like, so can you guys perform? And that was the moment where you can tell that like this shit, they do put pressure on them, because you saw Sheridan's face and he was like, can we have like a couple minutes to prepare something?
Yeah, I would be tripping balls.
Tripping out. That's really nerve-wracking. You show up at a radio station, they're like, so you guys are going to perform together, correct?
Can you just play us something? It's kind of like this thing though that I do feel bad that like musicians get, where it's like, oh, can you just play us something? It's like, oh Jesus, that's it's
a lot.
Poor things.
Well, Julia even said it on her date with Trevor. Is she was like, when she was bringing up the whole cover thing, she was like, I do know songs that I've learned that are covers, but like as soon as someone asks me, it's like they kind of just poof disappear. And I'm like, dude, Evan is the exact same way. Anytime we've ever been anywhere and people are like, hey, Evan, here's a guitar. Can you play like a cover? Evan's like, I know nothing. Like disappears. He's I don't remember any cover. He's like, I only remember songs that I wrote. And then he's like, and I feel awkward being like, let me play a song that I wrote for you.
Let me play an original for you. Totally. I mean, that's a lot. Well, also don't forget in the interview, they just ask her if she's been kissing other people. Poor Sheridan. And then he's like, and then, you know, I felt bad for her too, because then they turn it to him and he's like, actually, no, I haven't kissed anyone else. And I'm like, oh, well.
I know. I'm like, good Lord. Okay. Are we going to have this conversation? Well, and then Sheridan's like, right before they hop up on stage, Sheridan mentions, he's like, we're on Valentine in the morning. We're going to be performing live in front of hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of people. And I'm like, Sher Bear, it is morning FM radio. I'm going to say probably not millions. So just FYI. So take a deep breath. You're going to be fine.
For real. Well, so, also back at the ranch, a side note that happens real quick. Rudy basically goes to Matt and just like apologizes for everything on her end, which I was like, okay, like props to you for like acknowledging that maybe you went a little too hard, but bro, you don't have to like apologize for everything.
It was,
I mean, you don't have to take back everything.
Yeah, it was quite a twist. I was like, I thought that you literally hated him, and now you're like saying that you should have trusted your gut. And so I don't know, it felt a little unclear. Well,
it also sort of made me sad, because like she was also like, sometimes I can come on a little strong, and I'm like, okay, well, we've seen that, but also like, don't just take back everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know? I completely hear you.
Like you weren't acting like just a total crazy bitch. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not.
Yeah, I think maybe her running like and telling all the girls and like talking smack about him probably was the thing that was not as, you know, it's like, okay, like
not necessary and maybe a little out of line.
But it was a twist that I did not expect. I did not expect that. That's for sure.
But it seems like she's feeling a little desperate, maybe.
Yeah.
Wants to make sure she's going to secure her rose.
She needs to secure that rose, you know, get that rose, make sure.
She was feeling like she was in a hot place last time when she had the power. She's like, fuck you, Matt. I'm going to choose who I want. And now she's like, and I have no romantic investment with anyone here. Fuck.
So I'm going to go ahead and apologize.
I'm going to crawl my ass back to him and say, God, I'm so sorry.
I'm dead. Well, back at iHeartRadio, their performance, you know what? I will say there was a lot of cringe moments in this episode, but I did not find this moment to be cringe at all. I thought they sounded beautiful together. I feel like her voice slams.
I actually really liked his voice. Her voice. I thought he kind of fucked up the lyrics though for a second. Like something happened.
No, I think, this is kind of,
right?
But this is kind of why I liked it. I felt like they're both super talented, and you could tell a couple times he like fucked up the lyrics. There was a time where she was like a little it was like, you could tell this was live, and they weren't like, they weren't running it over and over and over again to make the perfect version of it. And I just thought that, and that's why I got really sad, because I felt like her singing shocked me. Her falsetto was just like, ooh, chills all over my body, bitch. And he was just looking at her like he was beaming, like just so over the moon. And I thought that the song sounded great. Like, I thought that they had great chemistry while they were singing it. And so I was really like, my heart was aflutter, and it was stomped on very quickly afterwards.
I mean, yeah. Things got well, he was just a little bit too clingy though too. Like, he was just kind of touching her a little too much, and she just obviously wasn't really into it.
I'm nervous that our sweet Sher Bear, who I adore, is maybe going to be pulling a Mark Love is Blind situation, and I'm scared because I don't want that to be the case. Yeah.
Thankfully, she's not a total Jessica. But.
Yes. I mean, at least so far, that's what it seems like.
Back at the house, once again, Bree and Chris are connecting through the language of music that they both speak fluently, and they're singing to each other on the couch, just really just letting their heartstrings flow.
They
really
definitely will sing whilst they make love. That's for sure.
Oh my. I would pay money to never see that.
But I do have to say, I'm looking forward to hearing this girl belt out some notes, because the way that she was positioned on the couch with her throat kind of like laying in this like half lying down position, and she could still sing like that. I'm like, this girl at like standing tall. I'm excited to hear them like in a full non-improv way sing a song together. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my God, I know. Also, another thing real quick about Julia on the date with Sheridan too. I liked when she was singing this, she wasn't doing all these unnecessary runs. It was like a very like, I mean, it did get a little pitchy in there at one point, but it was nice.
I think Julia has a fantastic voice. Fantastic. And like you said, it was honey. Well, we do have a moment where we see Ryan and Rudy talking for a second.
And it's shit was weird.
Super awkward, because Rudy's just like, I obviously think you're attractive. And Ryan's like, yeah, for sure. Likewise. And he was like looking at his watch. And I immediately, it's like, okay, he was not this way with Jamie. He was like all over, like wanting to have this romantic connection with Jamie. So he clearly does not feel this way about Rudy. It's just not.
Well, just wait till we get to him and Natasha.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, oh my. Well, then these two girls strut in. Ruby with the pink hair, and this other girl, what is it, Mariana or something?
Yeah, Mariana.
Someone else who thinks she's really hot.
Well, I mean, she is. I was laughing because when they first walked in, I was like, oh no. Because when Natasha walked in,
it's the energy that Trevor has though too, where the person's like I know I'm hot, and that's the vibe that I'm going to continue to give off.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Not that they don't have a right to think that they're hot, but it's like,
it's the energy.
Hey,
well,
hey, like how I thought Hannah Ann was at the beginning. Like, are you gonna tell me how beautiful I am yet?
Yes.
What about now?
No, I think that it was so funny that they brought in Natasha, who was like the, like blonde, maybe hotter, quote unquote, version of Julia. They bring in Mariana, who's like the brunette, like hotter version of Jamie. Then they bring in the new alt pink haired girl. That's the more like bold, flirty version of Mel. It's like they just tried to like take it up a little bit, and they're like making everybody nervous. Well, I mean, obviously we don't see anything of Mariana at all. But what we do see is that Brandon is the new hot commodity because everyone is
apparently so.
Everyone is in love with him. Mariana's interested in him. We see Ruby flirting with him. And then Mel says that from the beginning, she's been interested in Brandon. And I'm like, but is that really true though? Because
I was so confused. And then also I just didn't, we haven't seen much of Brandon. And then, when Brandon, okay, so when Savannah gets the date card, she's taking Brandon. Mel goes like, it's Brandon. It's going to be the best date of her life. And I'm like, wait, what? How have we been missing this?
I'm like, I have a feeling that if you asked Savannah, is he the most excited? Are you the most excited to go on a date with Brandon over anyone you've ever been on a date with? I can guarantee Savannah would say no. I have a feeling Savannah's gone on a lot of good dates, and I have a feeling that she'd be like, yeah, it was fine. He seems like a really cool, nice guy.
Like,
but it's
what?
like Mel is obsessed with him. But I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Mel initially was into Matt at the very beginning. She went out on a date with Matt, and then all of a sudden she disappeared from Matt and is like crying to Gabe and is like, Gabe's my guy. And now she's bawling over Brandon. And again, let's remember, this is what? It's been maybe 3 days. This is out of control. This is out of control.
I didn't really get it. And then I was confused too, because then Julia still it came out of left field for me that all these women are so invested in Brandon just in general. I was really confused. Had we seen Savannah and Brandon together before? Am I just forgetting that because there were so many people last episode?
Yeah, I
don't even remember seeing them have a connection.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really see a lot of it, but like there was the conversation of like Julia kind of wasn't involved anymore because Savannah and Brandon were connecting. And then we saw them throughout the first episode, like just quick little blips of them together. And then, it's even at the very end, I remember before the rose ceremony, I think it was Sheridan who was like, all right, the couples are who are like together, and Savannah and Brandon, were part of that conversation. But, Mel is tripping out. Before Savannah gets the date card, by the way, Mel is trying to flirt with Brandon, and she's just like, what's your love language? And he says,
and he goes, physical touch is definitely my love language.
And she goes, like, physical touch is the hardest for me, like, blah. And I'm like, if you're trying to win this guy over, you don't go blah at his love language.
Physical touch, ew.
And then she's like, I would much, and he's like, my mother was always, they gave so many hugs in my family, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I would much rather shake hands than hug. So, and I was like, I don't think this is how you flirt.
Okay.
I don't think this is how you get him to choose you over the other women by telling him that you'd rather shake hands than hug. I think. I could be wrong.
What on earth?
Oh, there were some moments. Oh, Lord.
So Savannah takes him on the date, and this date is actually pretty sexy until, of course, they have to go up and ruin everyone's night with their rendition of Fever. But before that, their date was actually like, I'm like, okay, this is a vibey date. Once again, very low budget, but also nice.
Low budget, but listen, I am a huge fan of the Dresden. My FOMO was out of control. It's a fantastic spot. Also, the fact that they showed Marty and Elaine. Okay, they are legends. They
icons.
They have been there for like 40 years or something like that. They're there all the time. They're incredible. And I had this moment of where I'm like,
this, by the way,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say just this, by the way, was the best organic way to bring in the couple that's been together 50 years.
Absolutely.
Scenario.
And I would love to but recommend anyone Google Marty and Elaine Roberts and see their old photos of them together from like the 60s. They're legends.
I'm gonna look that up.
They're adorable. I'm obsessed with both of them. And also this was a reminder for me when I'm like all these people with like the safer at home orders who's just like, it's just affecting older people, which isn't true. If you got to stay home, remember, stay home for Marty and Elaine, okay? And their sweet, sweet love, okay? I want to see them perform at the Dresden. They're incredible. Stay home for Marty and Elaine.
Aww.
They're so cute.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was really liking the date.
But
and side. Go ahead.
Sorry, you keep cutting out. So I don't want to keep interrupting you.
No, I was just. No, I was just gonna say, and then just side note that Julia gets back and finds out that Brandon's on the date, and she's like really bummed,
tripping.
Like I think more so than she even expects to be bummed, and yikes.
Yes, it's not a good sign. Well, with the ending of Brandon and Savannah's date, I wanted to say, and this is before I saw everything that went down, I said, I really like Savannah a lot. I think she gives me this energy of like, this is the girl who I feel like I would hang out with in real life. She's super, she seems cool. Super cool and super low key and mellow. And at this point, when I was taking my notes before I finished the episode, I just said, I don't know about Brandon. I'm kind of like, whatever. I have neither here nor there feelings about him. I don't understand why everyone's obsessing over him, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
But
I don't get it either.
He does
I did not like. Keep going.
Sorry.
He mentions what?
He mentions that I did like when he mentioned about that when he was deployed, he would have never done something like this open mic because he was not allowed to show vulnerability or emotion, but that he thinks that vulnerability isn't a weakness. I thought that was a sweet moment. And then when they did sing, I thought his voice, I mean, he has a great voice, but I wish they wouldn't have done the open mic. I just enjoyed them sitting together at the Dresden.
It was awful. I hated it.
Yeah.
I did not like it. No. I'd be like, who the fuck are these people? I want Marty and Elaine back. But and their rendition of Fever was just cheesy as fuck. I was like, of all the songs you're gonna sing in the
Fever. By the way,
like, oh God.
Did you ever used to watch Gilmore Girls?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, whenever I hear the song Fever, all I can think about is Gilmore Girls. And there's a character and she goes up and she sings like in a karaoke night, Fever! Fever! And that's all I wanted. I just wanted that so bad.
Oh my God.
With her crazy raspy.
It was just like, they were that's hilarious. I didn't enjoy that moment. That's all. I'm a very harsh critic though, and I didn't like it.
No, and I didn't like it. And I also love that song, so I'm like, please no. The next day, sweet Sher Bear is feeling like he's really solidified with him and Julia's relationship and their emotions, but she comes in and drops a bomb on him real fast. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, wait, what part is this? She goes in. Let's see. When is this? This is before the cocktail party?
Yeah, before the cocktail party, she basically like tells him, she sits Sheridan down and she's like, hey, and he thinks that they're rolling and it's good to go. And she says that she's feeling stressed and that she wants to be super transparent with him. And she wants to be able to feel like she can still have those conversations with Brandon. She needs to be able to like figure it all out. And I felt my heart broke for for Sheridan, but I did at least appreciate that she was super honest with Sheridan and was like, hey, I still want to have these conversations with Brandon, which she knows puts her up for potential, not the idea of not getting a rose because the guys are in a position of power in this one. So I do feel like Julia is being honest with, you know, the men's that she's talking to about like where she's at, and she's not just trying to string both of them along. You know, she's honest with Sheridan.
Right.
But then he's like crying in private, and it's so sad. Poor Sheridan.
Well, and it does this does backfire a little bit on Julia.
Yes, it
then
does
after
indeed.
this correct is that's when basically Chris Harrison comes in, talks about how important it is. He's like, get in there, new ladies. You gotta get in. He's like really giving them a pep talk. He's like, you gotta get in there and you gotta make connections, ladies. I want to see you trying your hardest. He's like very aggressive to them about it.
Destroy.
I'm like, do anything it takes. Do you hear me?
Help our ratings.
Whoa.
Give us the clips we need for the highlight reel. Well,
I'm like, whoa, dude.
I know he was coming in hot, that's for sure. Well, Mel is immediately like, I need to get my mans. And it is maybe, in my opinion, the most uncomfortable one-on-one moment that I've seen in a long while, because that girl is leaning so hard into Brandon.
Jess, what was that?
I don't know.
Have you ever felt like that feeling when like you really are? I'm like, what are you even saying? And why are you saying it like that?
It is. Oh, sweet girl.
Why was that? Why was that like that?
I would imagine.
Why was that like that?
I would imagine that Mel would tell you that she does not know how to flirt with people. If she was in an interview, I think that she'd probably say, "Hi, Ruthie."
If she was in an interview,
she would say, I'm horrible at flirting. I don't know how to flirt. And normally on this show, I'm like, oh, please shut up.
You'd be like, yeah, sure.
Right. You're great at flirting. But I'm like, no, Mel actually, that's not her strong suit. I wrote down that Mel, I
don't know what she was trying to get at either. I'm like,
no idea.
What are you trying to accomplish?
No idea. And I wrote down, I said, Mel needs to find her manic pixie dream man to be her guy. She needs her Jason Schwartzman. She needs her that's what she needs. Brandon, I just could not even see that happening. She needs a guy who's like a Jason Schwartzman who's gonna like understand what was going on in that situation. That was like awkward and weird. But she was like, when she said, I've never felt these feelings, like, I think these are the feelings you're supposed to feel. Like, I've never felt them before. And Brandon goes, you've never felt them before, ever? No pressure. And she grabs his neck and like shoves him in for that kiss, man. Shoves. It was so uncomfortable.
Well, Julia's talk with Brandon was next, and it was cringy in a whole different way for me because she was just like, screw everyone else, baby. I gotta do what's best for me.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Where did it come from? It was like Julia was so like low key and kind of like, all of us girls are vibing with each other, but Savannah's different.
I have come to stake my claim. And I sort of knew in that moment too. I'm like, yeah, and I think he's going to give the rose to Savannah. Cringe.
Yeah. And it was really uncomfortable when she said, when all of a sudden she started to kind of tried to throw Savannah under the bus. That was like, I didn't like that at all. That was then where my red flag goes, okay, she's a waving, because I'm like, here's my thing. You're on a show. You've only known these guys for a couple days. You experience your men's. You meet the people you want to meet. You flirt with who you want to flirt with. I appreciate the fact that you're being honest with Sheridan and being like, I still want to talk to Brandon. But when you're talking to Brandon and you know that Savannah and him have gone on dates and that they are like, you know, heading in that direction, and then you intentionally go out of your way to be like, all the girls are really close, but like Savannah, I don't know. And you're like, oh, you're going to pull that card. Okay. Okay. I don't like that at all.
Sus.
I don't like that at all. Don't throw other girls under the bus because you have a crush on him. No.
Totally. Totally.
But then Brandon goes, well, I genuinely care for Savannah. Don't you care for Sheridan?
And she's like, how do I say this? No. Not at all.
Do you want me to write it down or? Oh no. Well, I think that we have a situation of a not physically attracted to Sheridan. I think that she's probably physically attracted to Brandon.
Totally.
And she's got the hots for Brandon. She likes making out with Brandon. And she grabs him and she kisses him, and you could hear those kisses from a mile away, Bekah. I could hear them in quarantine.
This happened a lot this episode with the kissing on the mic. It really bothers me and it really makes me nauseous.
Yes, same.
It's like the worst kind of ASMR, and it's like I would almost rather hear someone dry heaving than hear this up close smacking of people. There's something about it that just, it gives me goosebumps all over my body.
It feels more intimate than like listening to people having sex. Like I'm like, okay, I'll listen to people having sex. I don't want to listen to people sucking and slurping each other's faces. It's not good.
It's really gross.
And it's very loud.
It's really gross. Well, we have more kissing going on next with, you know, Ryan kisses Natasha because he's literally scared out of his mind of her.
Well, Ryan is the hot pastor of my dreams in this scene, okay?
Like, I know this little, what's it called? Like a bishop's collar? I can't think what it's called.
He is dressed like, I forget what that show is. I just started watching it. I forget the name. And it's like about like a pastor, a priest or something. And he starts having an affair with one of the congregants. And it's like not allowed. And it's like super sexy and hot. And Ryan's outfit is giving me that energy. And I'm like, okay, this is.
Wait, what show is that?
I have to look it up, but I'm going to tell you.
What, I feel like I may have seen it. What thing is it on? What streaming service?
Hold on. I'm going to find this for you. Fleabag.
Yes, I knew you were talking about Fleabag. I started the first season. It's so funny. It's also, I like that the episodes are short. I'm only like 4 episodes into it though, but I thought that's what you were talking about. It's good.
It's phenomenal.
I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yes, that's what it is. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's like dark comedy, but like sexy.
Yeah,
and like
it's good.
but he was giving me that energy with that outfit, and I was like, oh Lord, here we go. But Natasha.
Side note, have you started watching Unorthodox at all on Netflix?
No, That's
another really good one.
I need to watch
Super good. So Broads, 2 other binge-worthy shows if you have already listened to Your Heart. Both Unorthodox and Fleabag are really good.
Well, Natasha
was totally see those vibes.
Yeah, but Natasha was not getting that energy. Natasha was getting Clark Kent energy from him, and she's like, your curl and your outfit.
It's the glasses, yeah.
And Ryan was shaking because Natasha is dressed, speaking of Real Housewives, like a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills in that slamming white dress.
And the earrings and the hair. And he hit her with, I would be so insulted if someone hit me with this one. He hits her with, I don't feel like I'm your type. And that's a roundabout way of saying you are not my type. And I would be so offended if someone said that. It's not actually a mean thing to say, but I would be so offended if someone said that to me.
Okay, but
I don't feel like I'm your type is saying you are not my type.
Okay, but here's the thing. At the same time, Natasha is like West Hollywood energy, and Ryan's kind of like, he said, like nerdy, right? So don't you think?
Oh, it's 100% a justified thing to say. Not rude at all. Completely justified. Would probably say a very similar thing.
But what I'm saying is, do you think that maybe he might want to have sex with her, but it's a little bit like, I haven't had a woman like you approach me before?
Well, that's the vibe that I ended up getting, was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, let's hook up, kind of, which I totally respect.
Like, I bet like Ryan gets like other maybe like alt musician girls who are like hitting him up, and Natasha's this like woman who's just like,
no, he was totally like, all right, like, fuck it, I'm down for sure. But also at the same time, what he was saying is like, I would never approach someone that looks like you at the bar.
Yeah, for sure.
I would never see someone like you at the bars I frequent.
No, you are definitely not attending the places that I go and play music at. That's definitely.
And basically, and then whatever she says back, when he goes, I don't feel like I'm your type, and then she responds, whatever, I'm into nerdy guys, whatever. And he was just like, okay, I feel you. Then they just end up making out,
sucking face.
I mean, I was down with
Natasha put her entire mouth over Ryan's face. It was a suck session.
Yike, but that was pretty entertaining to me. And then now Ryan's kissing Rudy. And then
and Rudy is what she taking notes from Matt, who she had an issue with before, where all of a sudden they're sitting in the room together and she's just like, well,
right?
Let's just like, we should just do this. Like, we just need to, can we just kiss already and just like get it over with and like just do it? And it was like, that's exactly what Matt did to you in the hot tub. That was the most awkward thing ever.
And Ryan once again is just like, all right, fuck it, I'm down. Like,
sure.
Okay, for sure.
Why not?
Which I kind of love. So then I was confused though, because what was he crying about? She crying about? Was she crying because it was like Jamie's ex, or then because she like felt bad about Matt? I wasn't sure why she was crying.
I mean, I got more of the vibe that she felt bad about Matt, that she was like, fuck, I'm panicking because Matt was talking to other people, so I thought I might as well try to kiss Ryan, and I didn't feel anything, and now maybe Matt's going to be upset because I kissed Ryan and whatever. Like, because I would imagine that Rudy would have been upset if she found out that Matt kissed one of the other girls.
Yeah.
But
okay, I wasn't quite sure what she was. Yeah, what she was feeling bad about.
Well, she tells Matt, she's like, Ryan and I kissed and it was the most awkward thing ever. And I was like, you should be so lucky, Rudy. How dare you? But they are like, she's yelling at him again about like liking like Savannah and Bekah, blah, blah, blah. And they're like pushing each other. And I'm like, oh, they're going to have some wild sex, these two.
Wait, which two?
Sorry, Matt and Rudy, when they start talking again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was like, okay, I get why these two are kind of vibing each other. And once again, I really flip-flop back and forth on Matt. I was sort of like, okay, I'm kind of like fine with Matt again. Like, he sort of bothered me for a minute.
Yeah.
And then didn't
yeah.
I'm kind of like, okay, he doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
I liked him the first few minutes of the first episode, and then when all that shit went down, I was like, I don't like the vibe. But then it was like, is he just getting edited in a certain way? I don't know. I think that Matt kind of gives you that energy of somebody who's like would be like a probably like a friend of ours who kind of drives you crazy because he says like snarky things sometimes, but you're like, yeah, but he's a good guy, and I don't know, like,
or he's kind of annoying.
He can just be kind of that way and like say stupid shit, but like you love him and whatever.
When he gets drunk, he's a little bit too loud, but then you just kind of like, yeah. Exactly.
Something along those lines.
Well, she and Matt are back. They're like fully back on.
They are back in action. Back in action.
Fully back in action.
So then there's the rose ceremony. And Julia's tripping out.
Julia's, by the way, sobbing. Yeah. Sobbing about Sheridan. I don't know what he's gonna. I keep calling him Sheraton, like the Sheraton Hotel. Sheridan, I don't know what he's gonna do after this. And I'm like, okay, don't give yourself too much credit. Like, if he goes home, he'll just go home, and he has his Subaru Sheila. He'll be okay.
He'll be fine.
Julia, don't give yourself that much credit.
He's got his hats. He's got his rings. He's got his Subaru. Like, he's gonna be fine, Julia.
It's like, once again, he popped in and out of your life in like you popped in and out of his life in like over the course of 2 days. Yeah. I'm sure everything will be all right.
And after this show, I'm sure he's going to get hit up a lot because he's a doll. He'll be fine. You know, he's fine.
He is a sweet, sensitive guy, and I totally get not wanting to hurt him. I also appreciate, though, like you said, that she was kind of upfront with him and she's not just kind of trying to string him along.
Yes.
But
what about next week?
So rose ceremony, Bree and Chris, Avi, Jamie and Trevor, Avi,
Matt and Rudy,
Danny and Bekah,
Natasha, and Ryan ends up choosing Natasha. So Natasha's still there. And that's then when we see Jamie whispering about like, no, not her. So we'll see if there's drama still because of that. Brandon and Savannah. Now that's the big, that was the decision. Mel is devastated. When Mel is driving off, you see her saying, I think if she goes, I think if Brandon chooses me, it'll change my life. And then later when she's driving off after he doesn't choose her, she says something like, I would have spent the rest of my life making him like feel good about the decision he made. And I was like, this is an extreme feeling for knowing someone for such a short period of time.
Oh,
it's a lot. Gabe picks Ruby. He picks the bolder Mel. And then sweet Sher Bear, he is a faithful man and he goes with Julia.
Granted, it's like, who is he? He has no connection established with anyone else. So who's he going to give it to? You know, it's like, well,
yeah.
Although if it was me, I'd be like, screw you, you bitch.
Oh no, I would have shut that down.
I won't let you continue on. For real though, someone rejects you and then like, what? Do you want to keep them around to wait until a new guy comes on the scene and then she's down for him in front of you? Like, is Sheridan hoping that she's going to come around to him? Nothing good is going to come of it.
I guess. Who knows? Well, Mariana, Mel, and Cheyenne leave, who, by the way, we literally saw Cheyenne say 2 words, and I feel like they did her dirty because she was there from the day one and they showed us nothing of her. So that's really annoying.
Right?
Yeah, that's so, yeah.
But we see people talking well of her, too.
I know.
And so I'm like, well, we didn't get to see her at all. So we have no idea literally anything about her.
Thanks, ABC.
But it is what it is, I guess.
And then, okay, so then we have a moment at the very end where Brandon hugs Julia and he says, I'm glad you're still here and I'd like to talk. But then we see Julia saying to producers that Brandon was telling her, like, you're still here and we can figure this out, which we didn't hear him say that. But so I don't, I'm assuming he did say that.
I don't really know what's going to go down with that.
And I feel like Brandon is letting all this lady love get to his head. I feel like all of a sudden he's got this like cocky energy. He's doing the cheers to the best days of our lives and the worst nights. And Cher is irritated, to say the least. And I do not blame him. But we'll see next week, because next week it looks like...
Yeah, what the fuck's going down next week? I could not figure out from the preview what was happening.
Well, it looks like between at least... So the Brandon and Julia piece, it looks like Julia's starting to trip and Savannah is standing her ground, okay? So it looks like, and I could be wrong, but it looks like Julia's coming in hot. And she's like,
oh, shit.
She is trying to claim Brandon regardless of Brandon choosing Savannah. And Savannah does not look pleased. And I don't know how.
That's so cringy.
I don't know how I'm going to feel about Julia next week is all I'm saying. It may be just the editing that they're making us think it's going to be a certain way next week. But
also, I mean, I don't know, how embarrassing. Like, he gave the rose to somebody else. Why are you still going to pursue him?
I know. Just like, you got to just.
He chose someone over you.
You got to just let it be. And if you don't have those feelings for Sheridan, then just, you got to tell Sheridan, like, we'll just be friends moving forward in this and, whatever. But I'm saying it's a Mark and Jessica thing, right? She's pulling the Jessica where it's like, I'm going to continue to like ask Barnett how he feels about the situation. And like, it's like, just let it be.
Cringe.
Don't do that. We have also we find out that the first performances of the season are next week, which means that when we were getting clips of the couple singing, we weren't getting spoiled for the end, because we're going to be getting regular performances. And what it looks like, indeed, is that these judges are judging their love on the performances. And are they going to get eliminated by the judges? I don't know.
Unbelievable.
Because Chris Harrison said next week it's all going to change.
Like your connection's just next week. Next week. What am I saying? Yeah, the judge is just being like, your connection does not seem strong enough. We do not want you to continue on as a couple. What?
It's like, what? And then you see like JoJo saying like, well, it seemed like the feelings may not be reciprocated between the two of you, like just because of watching a
from an on-stage performance. I mean, granted, that's me and you. Why didn't they have us judge? We would have been like, something seems off about him. I don't trust him. He's standing right there on stage.
Exactly,
I don't know. I don't trust him.
I don't know. There's just something. I would have lived for doing what they got to do. Are you kidding me? I would have accepted that in a heartbeat.
She seems like she has ulterior motives. Why do you say that? Just a look in her eyes, you know?
Yeah, there's something. I just can tell. He doesn't love her. That's it.
we just lean forward and ask him, are you cheating on her? They're like, what? Are you cheating on her?
I can tell.
You know exactly what I said.
I can tell. And you look at the girl. I just want you to know he's cheating on you. Do I have evidence? No, but what I can tell you is I'm never wrong and he's cheating on you.
I feel energy, okay?
And it's stopping where you start.
And the energy I feel, it's not good. It's not good.
In fact, I'm seeing his energy floating to this beautiful woman in the front, and I'm pretty sure he's cheating with her.
Wait, I'm getting a vision. Oh, I'm getting a vision.
God, it's coming in.
You've got someone back home. We've got a Jed Wyatt here. You start freaking out.
Seeing the vision. Just, somebody call Reality Steve.
I see a fur-trimmed corduroy jacket. Oh, no.
It's Jed. Jamie, I need you to know Trevor is cheating on you with Jed.
Jamie, you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you. This is all just after they've given their live performance.
Oh my God, we just show up and
damn
just
it, I would
spill
kill for
all
that.
the tea. You're not going to like what I have to say.
Oh my God.
Oh, well, I'm excited to see all the live performances next week because I feel like we're going to get then a very thorough, great American Idol The Voice crossover Bachelor energy this time. It's not just going to be like dates that involve singing. It's going to be like proper performances with bands, and I'm looking forward to it.
How hilarious would that be if they did it in voice style and then these Bachelor couples had to like pick couples for their team?
Ooh, I would like that.
And then like they would win based on how many couples actually make it through to the end.
Or if the judges...
And they're like coaching them on their relationships.
That would be great.
They're like, you guys are going to get a lot of attention after this, good and bad. And like, is your relationship going to be able to handle it? We're going to get you through this.
Are you going to be able to handle the DM
like
slides? Trevor?
Trevor, I'm looking at you.
Or what if the judges, it was voice style and they had their backs turned and they had to judge their love off of just hearing their voices singing together. And it was just like,
oh my God. You hit the button, not in love. Your chair swivels around.
Those harmonies.
Wrong reasons. Wrong reasons.
Those harmonies screamed disconnection, okay? I don't feel your love for each other. If you loved each other, your harmonies would sound better together. I choose no. Divorce.
Wrong reasons. I love the wrong reasons for it. Again, break up. Stop the performance. It's 45 seconds in. All three of them hit their buttons. Now it's like X Factor. Or what is it? America's Got Talent, you know, where they if all three of them give X's, they have to stop the performance.
Everyone's just like
No,
I can't take it anymore.
Oh my God. Well, I can't wait till next week to see what happens with that situation.
Wait either. And broads, love ya. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying inside. Also, if you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe. Spread the word. And we'll catch you guys.
Smash those 5 stars.
Smash those 5 stars. We'll catch you on Thursday, pre-quarantine. Speaking of quarantine, I'm about to go in and see my daughter, who this morning I left her alone in my bedroom for 5 seconds, and she did find my vibrator, and she did hold it up, and she did say, "What is this tool?"
A tool?
She called it a tool. She goes, "What is this tool?" I said, it's a tool for my body. And I just like tucked it away. And I was like, you need to leave mommy's stuff. That's private in that corner, but it's a tool for my body. And she goes, and like runs away. So gonna go figure out how to properly discuss that one.
It's okay. I had like a barely used vibrator that I was giving to Ruth when she was teething one time, and she loved it.
Oh, that's a great teething tool. One of the small
silicone
ones. Yeah.
Silicone, small, vibrating. Yeah. Love
Love that. Well,
so I say just lean into it, you know.
Blessings to all of us.
All right. Well,
all right.
On that note,
we'll chat soon.
Chat soon.